Okay. Before we go into the Blair Robertson and your quiz, I just want to make there were some people who sent some questions, no, privately on Canvas. So I just want to deal with that now. Um, the first question is the Noli Fili test. Will it be on site or online? Um, I think it will probably be on site if I can arrange to get a classroom. When we get the person who's supposed to answer, there will probably be some who will take it online, but they will have to take it at the same time as the um, people who are taking on site. So I'm still thinking of that. Okay. I also mentioned that I'm supposed to give you Nick Joaquin readings for the Noli and the Fili. Thank you for reminding me of it, because I should give that at the beginning of the term. If you open module 0, the readings, there are 2 essays by Nick Joaquin. One is on appreciating the novels of Rizal, and then number 2 is Nick Joaquin, being a writer and a novelist. He actually gives you his take on what Rizal's novels are like from the point of view of a novelist. So it's a very technical thing. No, he read, for example, chapter 1 of the Noli a number of times just to break it up and to see how Rizal is constructing his novel. So those are already in module 0. Um, there was a suggestion, because I think some people um, uh, can't cope with our rather easygoing class. So to give some order to these people, they want a sort of tentative schedule. So anyway, the next 2 months or last 2 months, the tentative schedule basically is October. We will just be doing Rizal and his life and his world. Um, the first 2 weeks of November, we will discuss the novels, no other writings of Rizal, and then we will have the Noli Fili test. And then, November till the beginning of December, I will end with readings on the Revolution. So readings by Aguinaldo. Since we don't have very long readings from Andres Bonifacio himself, I gave you in the reading packet, you will have a short autobiography of Mrs. Bonifacio, which I think is important because we have very few women writing in history, or women as agents of history. So that's interesting. And then we will end with Apolinario Mabini. Okay, so that's basically our tentative schedule. Now, some people have suggested that um, that I open all the modules. I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the term, that in the beginning I was torn between opening all the modules, and I see Canvas tells me that some of you are trying to open the next modules, but I keep them closed and I give them weekly. Again, because people have different ways of doing it. Some people think the pace is too slow. Some people think the pace is too fast. So the point here is I open weekly the modules, so that if you give at least an hour, you're supposed to give me 3 hours a week. If you give class an hour a week, um, it's enough time for you to go through the modules, to read, to keep updated. So the reason I'm not giving all the modules right away, because from my own experience, when I took an online Harvard course on art history, they opened, of course, all the modules because it's self-paced. But I realized that when it's self-paced that way, I it's like a Netflix binge, di ba? You'll watch the whole season in one evening. So one day I just watched the entire course. And you sort of get a sense that I did the whole course, but it doesn't work because it takes time to digest the material. B, because you're binging the parts that I didn't find quite interesting, I either skipped, or I fast forwarded, or I made the speed quick. So I missed out on things which I should have learned, but I was not willing to learn. And then, of course, there were readings that should come with the actual modules. So, because I was not able to read the things that came with the modules, so I lost a lot from it. So you have a sense of having finished the course, but it's not there. So that's why I decided to just open every week, except that the Noli and the Fili was assigned at the beginning of the term because people will read it anyway the last 2 weeks. No, but it's nice that I already gave it to you. I hope so you have already started reading. We've been together already 2 months. So um, it's by the time we take it up in the beginning of November, we will have some discussions. I'm thinking of doing for those who are really interested, no, so that it will be a smaller group. The ones who are really reading, I will have something like a book club thing, no? A smaller group to discuss the Noli and the Fili for those who have actually read, and then those people can help their groups do things. Okay, okay. Uh, Sometime today or tomorrow, once I have hit the 60% mark, I will open the grades of 60% of the class for the Blair and Robertson papers. For those who are upset that the B is usually the default grade, you will be surprised, or I was surprised, that there are many A's for the Blair and Robertson paper. The B is the default grade, but it doesn't mean that it's the only grade you can get. It just shows you that an A is possible with some hard work, and the A is possible in the final grade. So there are other things that come into play when we decide what what it means to do more than what is expected. Okay. I also noticed from your Blair and Robertson papers and from your birthday papers that most of the people in the class can actually write, both in English or in Filipino, which in university life is half the battle. So your papers, and I've commented on many of them, especially for the Blair and Robertson, the problem is actually focus. So like you're supposed to give me only 700-800 words. So that's about 2 pages for Blair and Robertson. And it's just supposed to be built on Blair and Robertson. But like there's some people who got carried away, and there's 2 pages on James Robertson and Emma Helen Blair. Fine, I appreciate the research, but that's not the assignment, diba? So you must learn to focus so that you don't waste too much time and effort. I appreciate the effort, but it's important to do things that are asked for. You will learn in life that you can do things uh, much better, but if it is not done in the way that is required or requested, it doesn't really matter. So the focus is one of the things that you have to learn. Almost everyone did the research, so they really went to Blair Robertson and read some obscure thing. I'll talk about some of the papers later. Maybe you can share what you looked into. Like in the earlier class, somebody wrote his name begins with D, so he wrote about disease, and his paper opened with excrement because there was an account of excrement being an antidote to the poison darts of the natives. So the Spanish soldiers would rub their excrement on their body. I mean, totally disgusting, but that's it. Another paper from that class, on the earlier class, was somebody wrote on the devil in the Philippines. And I mean, what is the devil like? So again, we will talk about, bias and point of view. So this is written by a friar, 16th, 17th century missionary. He encounters a religion that is different from his own. So he reads that as the work of the devil and not exactly his. There were 2 papers on obscure women. One was a woman called Kagengwa, who was a babaylan in the 16th century. Then there was a 17th century woman named Maria Manuela. Very, very interesting papers. And I'd like to let you know that many of you actually taught me many things. No, I cannot read Blair and Robert. As I told you in the module, I tried to read Blair and Robertson, but only finished up to volume 5. I cannot read it cover to cover, but by reading your papers, I learned so many things. So for that, I'm thankful. No, and many of those papers actually got an A. So I'll just go quickly through our quiz. Now, the quiz today is not graded. It's just to give you a sense of what it is. The next ones will be graded. I'm not so happy with it because Canvas doesn't give me the chance to trick you and give you really tricky questions because it's only yes or no or true or false. But for whatever it's worth, no, let's just go through it. Okay, you can answer in the chat, or you can answer by switching on your mic and just saying it out. The first question was whether Picafetta is primary or not, true or false. Anyone? Or you can put a thumbs up for true, a thumbs down for false so that we know. Or you answer in the chat. Okay. Okay, good. This is an easy question. Almost everyone got it. Okay, it's the answer should be true. But if we were in an on-site class, and this is actually a trick question, because classically we are told that if the document is translated, it is not primary anymore because it was translated by somebody in a different time. But let's face it, I mean, can we actually read 16th century, late 16th century Italian? No, and Picafetta's account is written in a type of Italian that even Italians today will not understand. So, because it's like that, we have to read Picafetta in translation, or like the Noli and the Fili. Many of you cannot read the Noli and the Fili in the original Spanish, so you have to read it either in English or in Tagalog translation. And there are historians who claim that you either read it in the original, that is the primary source, or if you read it in translation, it is not primary. But as I mentioned in our modules for this class, because we cannot read the original documents in the original languages or in the original context, we will still take a translation as a primary source. So that is correct. Okay. Number 2 was about who killed Magellan, you know, and the answer should, most people's answer should be Lapu-Lapu, you know, but it is not. And just, I mean, for people who read it, can anyone share what the battle was like? Anyone wants to share either on the chat or just raise your hand? I let you read Picafetta because it's like your birthday paper. We think we know what happened, but when you read Picafetta, it is a eyewitness account of the battle, and when you read it, it goes against everything that we imagine. There was no one-to-one Magellan Lapu-Lapu combat. Magellan was hit by a poisoned arrow, slashed on the face with a cutlass. He falls face down, and a group of angry Mactan warriors come and they kick, stab, hack him to death. No, so that's how he dies. Whether Lapu-Lapu was in the water or not, we are not sure. There is one historian who wrote a book on Magellan, Filipino historian, who's using maybe an unreliable Portuguese source that describes Lapu-Lapu as an old man. So if he was old, he could not have been in the battle. But we don't know what old is in the 16th century when people did not live as long as we live today. I mean, today, old is 80 years old, but before, old could be 30 years old. No? So again, we are not quite sure. So who killed Magellan? Definitely it's not Lapu-Lapu. We know it's a group of people, but we do not know their names. So that is the the answer to that. So the questions are it's not just the answer, but it is actually the context of the question. Okay, this one was a trick question. It was um, Enrique was able to speak to people in Cebu. He was the translator, which means yes, he was multilingual. But this has given rise to the to the story that Enrique might have been a Pinoy because now he was able to talk to the people in Cebu. But how the hell did he get to Malacca? No, so there's all these stories about uh, he was during a slave raiding mission when he was a boy. Picafetta, what's his name? Enrique was taken and brought to Malacca and bought in the slave market by Magellan. So we really do not know. But obviously, from the name Enrique de Malacca, he probably spoke Malay. And when he got to Cebu, he was not able to talk to everyone in Cebu like we would talk today. He was only able to talk to the kings or the rulers because it's the rulers because of trading, they spoke different languages. No, reading Picafetta, that's what comes out. Enrique was not able to talk to everyone, only talk to particular people who spoke Malay, his language. No, so that is the answer to that. No, okay. Chow Jukwa, the description. There's an essay that gives you the very short Chinese text on the Philippines, and I'll just go through this quickly because we might not have time. The correct answer to the Chow Jukwa question is that he found the Pinoys trustworthy, which I think is not so true today. No, his example was when the Chinese would come to trade. You must remember when they came, they didn't have ships with motors. They just went with the wind. So they knew in a particular season the wind would come down from China. So they would come with the wind coming down to the Philippines. They would trade, and then they would wait for the winds that would go back up and bring their vessels back to China. Now, what happened would be they would stop in a particular place, and then the natives would come up on the boat, and then either they were able to trade by barter, whatever, for the goods the Chinese gave, or some people did not have the money, but they took the merchandise, and the Chinese went off, and then after so many months, the Chinese will come back, and the Pinoys now would pay them, the price for what they took. And when you think about it, you're giving goods to somebody you don't know, somebody will probably never ever see. But they say that they almost it says they always paid, which is a very we are so different today, and I know that because we had in the Ateneo some years ago, it was called the Honesty Store. They put it up near Colaiko, and it was just a cabinet which had ball pens, notebooks, chichirya, soft drinks, food, and then there was a price list, and then a little box where you're supposed to put your money. So it was the Honesty Store. That thing ran out of business. People just took and didn't pay, and of course, people, the the very bad conclusion was, ay nako, mga tiga Ateneo magnanakaw, mayaman sila magnanakaw. But I said, they should have done also the same experiment in UP, so we know if the same will happen, or another experiment in a not so poor, a not so rich campus. But I'd like to think today that is what happens, no? And if it is, because the things were so cheap, so the things, it's not really stealing, or baka katuwaan lang, I don't know. But when you read the Chinese account that says Pinoys are trustworthy, and then you come today, you will really wonder. No, I mean, it's like one of the things that most people find so amazing. For example, when you go to Japan, um, you enter a restaurant, and then you're going to pay, or you're going to the counter to order and to pay. To save your spot or to save your seat, you leave your cell phone. You will never do that in the Philippines. Leave your cell phone to save your seat. That will be lost in 2 minutes. And sometimes I keep saying, even if you're holding your cell phone na, it will be stolen from you. No? So what more leaving it unattended for a long time. But it shows you, no, how people have changed. Okay, this is the interesting question. Was Morga right that people eat, Filipinos eat stinking and rotten food? Rizal says he was not correct, but this is a question I'm asking you. So can you answer with a thumbs up or a thumbs up? Morga was correct. Thumbs down. Morga was wrong. Was Morga wrong to say that we eat stinking and rotten food? Anyone? Can we see a show of hands or in the chat box? Was Morga correct? Anyone? Everyone's parang sleepy. Anyway, just to get to this answer, to get to this question, has anyone in class ever been to a bagoong or a patis factory? Anyone? You can raise your, okay, there are 2 people, okay. Vincent and Jose. Can you just tell us briefly lang, tell your classmates lang what a patis or bagoong factory is like. And then I'll give you my take. Vincent or Jose?
Sorry,
Yes.
sir. I was supposed to answer the question a while ago, not the one if I have
If it
been to.
so you've never been to a patis or bagoong factory. Okay. Has anyone been to a patis or bagoong factory? Anyone? The other class there were 2. I just want to know if my experience is the same. Anyone has been to a patis or bagoong factory? Because patis is something that we eat all the time. Since no one seems to have gone, I'll just let you know what it's like. I uh, my classmate owns Rufina Patis, but that's not a normal place. No, so in Malabon they have real vats, no, and they're very proud that it's sanitary and it's untouched by human hands. That's what they say. But I keep saying, yeah, they didn't use their hands; they used their feet. No, but um, I went to a bagoong factory in Balayan in Batangas, and just to give you an idea what it was like. 1 kilometer away, you can smell it. It's really stinking because it's fermenting fish or shrimp, and they did not have sanitary vats or it looked like pig pens, no, made of hollow blocks, and then they throw the fish in, and then there's water, then they throw the salt in. So when you go there, you see all these pig pens, no, about up to my chest, and then you peek, and then there's mold, it's bubbly, there are flies around. It's absolutely disgusting. So when I said, what is this? Ito ho yung gawaan ng bagoong at patis. And then in this parang pig pen, they had a faucet somewhere down. So they turned on the faucet, and then out came this golden brown liquid. So they put it in a saucer, they closed the faucet again, they showed it to me. Ito po yung premium, no? It's unang tulo, the first drop. I guess it's the proper thing to compare it with would be what? Virgin coconut oil, no? The first pressed coconut virgin olive oil, no? The first pressing. Anyway, so they showed it to me. Oh, fine, yung pala yan. Of course, when I saw the vat, I didn't want to even touch it. Then they gave me a teaspoon. They said, why don't you try it? And when I looked at the vat with the maggots and the bubbles, etc., I looked at this saucer and I thought, my imagination was one drop of this brown liquid will kill an elephant. And yet, sabi ko, how come we eat patis every day and nobody drops dead? So I tried it and it was good naman. So they explained, the liquid part is the patis, the slush that comes through it will be sort of mixed, and then they put in that food coloring so that it will not look so disgusting. So that is what patis was like, and bagoong. So when Rizal says, we don't eat rotten things, it is a point of view. But Morga is actually correct. The Pinoys were really eating stinking food. That's true. And it was stinking not because it was rotten, but it is the fermentation process, which is actually rotting food, not rotten. In the other class, somebody mentioned, why did Rizal think of bagoong? Maybe he should have talked about tuyo. And as we mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned this in our food discussion, when you eat tuyo in the Philippines, you cook it in your kitchen, nobody minds. But I'm telling you, if you cook tuyo abroad, your neighbors will call the police on you. And I actually had a friend in Paris, she cooked tuyo, and the neighbor called the police. The police descended on her because the neighbor complained that there was a dead body in the next apartment. Yung pala she was cooking tuyo. So depending on where you cook it, tuyo can smell good or it can smell very bad. So Morga was correct. Okay, why was Morga chosen by Rizal? Anyone wants to answer? This one's rather easy. The answer was unbiased, and actually that's a problem with Canvas. You cannot ask a follow-up question. Why was Morga unbiased? And this will lead us to our Blair and Robertson papers. No, anyone wants to answer? Krishna, Aseo, or Sophia, you? Why was Morga unbiased? Anyone? Or maybe we should ask Arbidel. Marie, can you answer?
Hello, Professor. What I noticed po kasi dun sa, what do you call this, the successes, Morga successes, is the reason why Rizal described it as unbiased is because he just recorded what happened, like the events or his observations of what happened in the Philippines and how the people were like.
But the other people who are writing are also writing from their point of view. So Morga was unbiased because of what? Or anyone wants to help? Marie, okay, Bernadette?
Sir, can you hear me po?
Yes. That's a good...
Try lang po, but then since Morga wasn't a friar, he wasn't
Okay.
the event in a point of view of like the church's accomplishments, and also he had like direct influence also on the events that actually occurred po.
Okay, great. Marie got it right. He wrote about what he saw. He's objective in that way. But Rizal considered him, as Bernadette mentioned, that Rizal considered him unbiased because he was not a friar. You must remember that many of the early histories of the Philippines are written by friars, which is fairly obvious because A, they were the ones who were writing. B, they learned the local languages. They had to go outside of Intramuros to convert people. A soldier will not write unless it's about a battle, or a government official will not usually write unless it concerns the administration of the colony. But the friars were the ones who wrote a lot because what they saw, what they experienced, etc. And many of you in your Blair and Robertson papers, you dealt with friar accounts. So anyway, there were some interesting papers that I went through. Sam de los Santos, for example, wrote about decrees. John Jose Su wrote about hair, of all things. Marie, our Bidel, wrote about a place called Lagyo, and they don't know where this is. But uh, can you tell us a bit about what you wrote? I mean, Jared Brown, I'm glad he's here. No, he's abroad. He wrote on barbecue. No, kasi Brown, so his name was letter B, and I mean, if I was also letter B, I'd also write about barbecue. Is Jared here? Can you tell us a bit about the barbecue that you found? Are you here?
Hello, sir.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Can you just tell us briefly about the barbecue?
Oh yeah. So basically, I mean, when I chose it, I just kind of related it to like how we as Filipinos have a lot of like family get-togethers and barbecues, and the foods that were used today are pretty similar to kind of like what they used back then, like the pigs and like the pork and all that. So, but it
But
was crazy because
basically, just tell the class what was the definition of I mean, what was a barbecue in the source that you read? It's not barbecue like we do it today, that we put it on a skewer, diba, and heat it. But can you tell your classmates lang what the barbecue was in that source that you read?
well, it was like they actually uh
This is very odd kasi. Sige, what do you remember?
I just remembered that they would, I don't know if they would necessarily barbecue like corpses or dead
Okay,
bodies,
yeah.
but yeah, it was like
Okay, so
yeah.
they were burning. They were burning a dead person, and according to Jared's source, the people also put meat and food in the fire. Kasi siguro sayang, di ba? You already have a burning fire. Might as well use it. So they put food in. Although I found it kind of strange that you will eat food that's cooked with a burning corpse. No, so that I found interesting. So thank you, Jared, for that. Jose wrote about hair. Can you tell lang briefly your classmates about? I mean, can you imagine the topics that you can get? No, so can you tell us a bit about your paper on hair?
Good morning. So
Mhm.
I chose that topic. It's because yeah, you can see my physical. That's what is limiting. But yeah, I found it Filipinos in history and the statues, except for our heroes who have those modern like hairs, we have primitive or we have those native Filipinos who have long hairs. But I just want to. I'm curious about that, so I went to look for it, and there I found that hair wasn't only for for physical appearance, but it has a lot to do with the livelihood as well of Filipinos in the past. So, for example, um, there's what we call the hair was for um a religious thing for their anito or their gods, and then the males also had their hairs long for yeah, it's also a way of physical appearance, good looking with their body tattoos like the Visayans. And it was also very different in any part of the Philippines.
Okay.
Then there's a lot of
Okay, yes. So it's good. I mean, but the topic can just be hair. But when you read your topic, like Jose did, what you see there is hair is not just physical hair. Hair denotes social status. Hair denotes beauty. I mean, what kind of hair is nice? Is short hair nice? Is curly hair nice or not nice? No, so it tells you about the fashion of a particular time. No, 2 years ago when I was in Madrid, the in the Museum of Romanticism, it's a museum nobody goes to. So I wanted to see this it's a 19th century house. It's about 19th century life. And then there was an exhibition about hair. And what they did was they arranged all the portraits parang from 1800 to 1900. So you will see, you know, when hair was long or when they had to wear wigs. And then when they got rid of wigs, hair was short, but they started to wear beards, no, beards and mustaches. So it was quite interesting to see how, you know, how people treat hair differently over time. But it's also interesting to see that anthropologically, no, the late anthropologist, what's his name, F. Landa Hucano, told me that he earned so much consultancy fees from 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 places like Procter and Gamble, because they wanted to see how did Pinoys treat hair. And then when you read early accounts of the Philippines, no, the Spanish always talk about the Pinoys having beautiful black silky hair. Maybe because when they came nga, their hair was not long, and then parang they always commented on the Pinoy's hair and how Pinoys would actually wash their hair with a plant called gugo, which was like the shampoo, to keep their hair shiny. So again, when you look at it, even today, you watch a Procter and Gamble shampoo product. It's always some beautiful woman, you know, moving her head around, and then there's this beautiful black silky hair, which is actually computer enhanced. But it goes all the way back to pre-colonial times. So when you read the past, you see some parts that are the same, some parts are that are different. It's like your birthday papers. You're able to see the past and put it into context. No, Sam de los Santos, are you here? Wrote, didn't actually go into, like many of you, kasi you get a topic and then you read the text. Sam de los Santos is Sam de los Santos here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, her paper was on decrease. And can you just tell them briefly how you did your paper and what decrease in Blair and Robertson look like in the index? Are
Oh,
you
it was about the laws in the Philippines during the Spanish colonization.
okay? Sorry, yeah, she has noisy background. But anyway, because it's noisy, I'll tell na lang your classmates what you did. When you open letter D under decrease, you don't even have to open each of these volumes because there's pages and pages and pages about all the decrees. Well, not all, but many of the decrees that were issued during the Spanish period. So the topics are given, or the title is there, you know, an order regulating long hair, you know, for example. Or you will be surprised when you just look at the laws and you will see things like fines for people who don't go to mass, no, or uh, they did not like games of chance. So there were taxes for cockfighting, taxes for playing cards, taxes for smoking, taxes for opium. So it's how the Spanish made money out of the vices of the people. No? So when you read it, you know, the laws by themselves, just looking at the list of laws, it gives you a sense of what life is like, why people are the way that they are, because the laws are there as a reflection of the time. Can anyone share their experience with the Blair and Robertson? It's just like what we did for our birthday papers. No, some people liked it, some people hated it, some people found it easy, some people found it difficult. Can two or three people tell us about what their experience was with Blair and Robertson? Anyone wants to jump in? Kirsten. Okay, let's hear from Erlyn first.
Can I be heard po, sir?
Yes, you can.
Ayun po. So, my experience with Darren Robertson po is actually, parang ang dami kong mixed feelings about the matter, especially with
Okay.
with the document that I just analyzed. Kasi,
No, what
to
was your subject?
as I actually picked my name kasi nagpakita dun yung surname ko. Tapos sabi ko,
Okay.
tapos pinili ko na lang siya kasi, parang alam ko yung feeling ng last yung pangalan ko. Tapos minsan, last na ako natatawag. So ako na yung nang tatawag sa sarili ko sa paper ko. So pinili ko po siya. Tapos, ayun. Nung sa letter po, parang parang yung pangalan, si Samudio po, siya yung bishop po. Tapos nag-letter siya na ka-address towards sa king. Tapos parang sumbongero po siya, gano'n. Sinusumbong niya po lahat ng mga kunwari parang katiwalian po na parang ginagawa ko noon ng mga friars sa vicinity. Tapos ayun po. I got many feelings about the matter kasi unang-una parang while yung sinasabi niya, it's true kung makikita kasi ang dami din namang nagve-verify na yung sa mga abuses nga ng mga friars. Pero kasi parang ang layout po ng kanyang letter, it was like a plea na payagan siya pumunta sa island. So I can't help but doubt po kasi na parang pinagmumukha niyang masama yung mga friars para mapili siya na pumunta sa expedition na yon and mag-go on a mission to spread yung Catholic faith dun sa mismong pinagbabawalan po na island. So, it's more on the question of intention po sa nagsulat ng document. Ayun po.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Actually, as I mentioned in the module, the hardest ones are the ones who have surnames na X, Y, and Z. Kasi ang konti, for Z, the only one that's interesting there is zebra siguro, no? I don't know what X is like, but I mean, you can find something. So here, she looked up someone who has the same surname, and then it leads you into, it's actually a rabbit hole. So the documents are not complete. I guess many of you have found this out. You want to read more about the person you are looking at, but parang kulang or the other documents are not there. And because the first reaction we get with Darren Robertson, this is 55, it's 10,000 pages. But 10,000 pages looks like a lot, but it is not complete. It's not all there. No? So history is like that. It's traces of things. You can never have a complete version of history. Or as I mentioned, I'm doing Rizal. My whole life and my whole career is based on the 25 volumes of writing that Rizal left us. So when you think about that, is it complete? It's not. No, 25 volumes of writing looks like a lot. But that's a very busy life of 35 years. So what things did he write and leave in the 25 volumes? What things didn't he write? Or what things did he write but he destroyed or kept that is lost to us? No? So in a sense, that is the whole challenge of history. So thank you for sharing that. Can we get two more? Can Teo Chu tell us what her example was? I chose you because you have the funniest picture in Zoom. It's a child. So anyway, can Teo Chu tell us about your Blair and Robertson experience, and then we'll call on Tim's Pimentel. Teo, are you here? Or your mic is not working? Tim's Pimentel? Just tell us what your Blair and Robertson experience was like. Going. Okay. Okay.
Hello po.
Yes.
Ay, sorry po kasi medyo delayed po kasi yung Zoom sa akin.
Okay. Where are you now?
Nasa university dorm po. Sobrang bagal ng
Oh,
wifi
sige, baba.
dito.
I'm sorry about that. No, I wish Ateneo could give us better Wi-Fi, but I guess when everyone is logged on, it's really slow. So anyway, yeah, I mean, just briefly, can you just sabi mo lang ano experience mo sa Blair and Robertson? Then we'll call on Pims Pimentel after.
Ay,
Sige.
ako po si Pims
Ay,
only,
ikaw ba
sorry
si
po.
Pims? I cannot see
po.
you. Yeah, sige. Okay.
Alexia po.
Okay.
So, yung experience ko at first, yung pagkuha mismo ng parang text, it was very confusing kasi akala ko at first na yung code, yung keyword, that would be what we're talking about. So, when I look through the volumes, parang, what about this text is about population? Kasi population po yung keyword ko. And it wasn't about population. It was like a letter from the first ever bishop of the Philippines
Hmm.
to the King of Spain. So basically po, it was about parang locals were nagrereklamo sila sa bishop mismo along with parang other parang village chiefs na yung pag-abuse ng mga alkalde, mayor sa mga people. Like yung mga dinidiscuss po ng grade school na parang yung mga alkalde, mayor, kinukuha nila yung rice, yung agricultural products ng mga Filipinos, and then they sell it at a much bigger price so that they can get the profit. So basically, yun po yung nag-uusapan sa letter. And
Do you
siguro po yung overall experience, it was po,
do you remember who the bishop was?
Salazar. Wait,
Okay.
let me check.
Domingo de
Salazar po.
Salazar. Okay.
Opo, Domingo de Salazar. And then, so yun po, it was very surreal kasi these things used to be like grade school lessons lang. Like, I knew of them, but I didn't really, parang siyang childhood, ay, hindi naman childhood, pero parang stories lang from the past. But then reading from like the actual people na nire-rec where the Filipinos complained to, it was parang na-realize na, okay, so it actually happened to like real people in the past. So yun po,
Okay.
parang na-realize yung whole thing for me.
Okay. Yes, that's a good point. No, so she wrote about Domingo de Salazar, and many of you wrote about used a friar source. No, so it's a friar source describing Pinoys, and most of the time, the natives are described in a very negative way. No, they are uncivilized, they are treacherous, they are lying, no, things like that. But you have to put all of these things into context. No, so like the way that we grow up, kasi, well, that's, I don't know about you, but di ba when we talk about the Spanish period, we always think about, friars raping the women, Guardia Civil abusing not that these things didn't happen, but I wanted you to see that when you read Blair and Robertson, because of course these are biased Spanish sources, it will also give you a different view of things. No, so like there are many people who use Jesuit sources. No, Fathers Chirino, Colin. When you read the 17th century accounts by Jesuits, Chirino is the guy who says, these people there's universal literacy. All these people can read and write in their own language and in their own writing because there was Baybayin. So another friar would have said they're illiterate, but Chirino was the one who says, no, they can write in their own writing. No, so sometimes it depends also on the person who is writing the things. No, Aldrich Lim, for example, are you here? Alex Lim, Aldrich Lim. He wrote about ganun din, no, that natives are described in a very negative manner. Now, just to give you what this is like, when I joined the Ateneo, one of our senior professors was a Jesuit, no, Father Arcilia, who's now retired. He wrote a volume in the 10-volume history of the Filipino people. He wrote the Spanish period volume. And when I read it, I felt very upset because it's ganon. When you read it, parang, Father, why are you writing this? That the natives are are so, the description of the negatives are negative. And then he answered very simply, because that is what the documents tell us. But I said, Father, shouldn't you turn this around so we will see it from a Filipino point of view, which is what Rizal was doing. And then he says, no, if you do that, you are tampering with the document, you are doing propaganda. Now, in the beginning, I didn't understand that. But now I see, when we read these papers, while reading your papers, that many of you have to go beyond that. No? So we look at things, for example, no, what was the Spanish period like? It is marked by religion. No, you will see that compared to other countries or other places that were colonized, no, say the British in India, or say the Dutch in Indonesia, they were there. Their colonies were just was a business enterprise. You just have to get. I mean, you oppress the people and get the produce or the fruits of the colony for your own gain. But for the Spanish, it was not just a question of getting the gains from the colony. There was this religious element. No, Philip II, they realized, Spain realized that they came to Asia because they wanted to get the spices from the Moluccas, and the Philippines didn't have much to be exploited. But Philip II, being a rather religious fellow, said, no, sige, kahit mabankrupt na tayo, we will convert all these heathen, so I will go to heaven, and we will bring all of these people to heaven. So it started with a good intention. They wanted everyone to go to heaven, but by doing that, they changed the way in which people lived and people thought. So a new religion gives you a new view, a new way of doing things. So some people say that's good, some people say that's bad. So in the 500th anniversary of the Magellan expedition, the church has a big thing. No? They look at it as the introduction of Christianity. So again, it's a double-edged sword. Should we be happy that we became Christian, or should we just wish that we were left alone to have our own religions? When you read this, and I mean, I hope you remember from the Nick Joaquin. Nick Joaquin gave a list of the greatest events in Philippine history, and the greatest events were the coming of the Roman alphabet, the introduction of books, no, the introduction of crops, things like they brought in the wheel. Now, what was the world like before the Spanish introduced the wheel? The Spanish gave us roads and bridges. I mean, when you look at that, yes, these are the things that the Spanish brought us. But I'd like to think that in this class, you should also try to see what was the Philippines like when they came. What were we like before they changed us into what we were? No, when I was a boy, and this is in the map module, when I was a boy, I remember from grade school, the definition of an archipelago is a group of islands that is separated by water. That is the standard definition. But it is a Western definition. It is a definition from someone who is used to being inland and not living in an archipelago. So if you put it in that context, when you look at it, when the Spanish came, the people were living near the coasts because that's a source of food, etc. They lived by the sides of rivers. And one of the things the Spanish did was to push people inland, and they created towns, no, First, you build a church, then a municipio, and the towns were not in the coastlines because you had to be protected from slave raiders from Mindanao. So when you think about it, in the pre-Spanish period, if you asked a Pinoy, how would you define an archipelago? A Pinoy, pre-Spanish Pinoy would have said an archipelago is a group of islands connected by water. Because to get from one bank of another to the one bank to the other, the Spanish solution is you build a bridge. But the Philippine solution is if it's close by, you wade there or you swim. Or you take a banca or some water vessel and you travel to the other side. So the water did not separate the islands. The water actually connected the islands. So when you see that, it's the way in which we changed. No, the religion changed. No, so the priests were male. But in pre-colonial society, the babaylan were women, or many of the babaylans were, as described by the friars, they were men with the nature of women, which means they wore women's clothing. They were not gay or transvestite. It was part of that religion. So what you see here in the Spanish period, what we should remember, aside from, of course, oppression and exploitation of the colony, is you must see how the Spanish period changed us and made us into what we are. And I think that when you look at it, you will see that in many of your papers from Blair and Robertson. Now, to end, no, sayang, Aldrich Lim is not answering, but his paper, he wrote a very interesting paper about, and he made a value judgment. Parang, ay nako, the Spanish period is all about oppression. But, you know, like as mentioned earlier, no, by Pim, she wrote about Domingo de Salazar, no, the first bishop of Manila, who was known as the defender of the Indios. So what he did was he actually defended the natives, the Christian baptized natives, from exploitation. So in a sense, you will see also a different view of the Christianization of the Philippines. So it had its good points and it had also its bad points. So all the sources you are reading in Blair and Robertson, because they're written by Spaniards with a Spanish viewpoint, they are biased. So if they're biased, can we just throw it away? We cannot. So what I'd like you to see, and Vince will post it in our canvas. There are two historians. One is called William Henry Scott, who wrote a landmark essay called Cracks in the Parchment Curtain, which meant that the history of the Philippines is covered by a curtain of documentation. And that documentation is usually biased. But he says again that a skillful historian can read a biased document and turn it around. And that's exactly what Rizal did. No? Morga says, ay nako, bulok ang kinakain la. Rizal says, no, it is bagoong. So it is a change in viewpoint that can make a biased document speak to us. Now, another historian was Renato Constantino, who wrote on the American period. There's a group of papers called the Philippine Insurrection Records. Of course, it's written from the point of view of the Americans, so we come out very badly. But what he says here is his essay was called Historical Truth from Biased Sources, meaning he was saying even if a source is biased, there is a way to find truth in it. No, so in these days of fake news, historical distortion, that's the thing. We're being bombarded by different sources, no? And as Blair Robertson and your birthday paper has done, what you are doing is you are validating a source, trying to find a context to a source. Many of you actually did more than just the data in the Blair and Robertson. They did Google. They looked for, somebody didn't just write about Legazpi. She did internet research and actually wrote a paragraph on who Legazpi was and why he is important. So it's putting all these things together. And I think that is the exercise that we are going through in this class. Next month, we will already be doing result. And your assignment, which I already gave earlier, your assignments were basically to read his diaries. No, that's the group assignment. And the other one is an individual assignment where you have to read 4 letters of results. So again, so what is that? No, I mean, he lived 100 years ago. What value is that to me? The value there is actually learning how to do research. That's one. Getting to use a primary sources. That's 2. And 3, it is trying to extract truth and context from a primary source to see a life in the 19th century and see how relevant or irrelevant that may be to your life today, and see how that history can influence you either for the good or for the better. No, so these are the things I want to let you know. No, by tonight or tomorrow at the latest, when I have more than 60% of your papers graded, I will post them already so that the people can see the comments. And there are some people who did not do quite well, so I asked them to resubmit. No, so the resubmission is a chance that I give only to people who have submitted on time. No, the ones who got late, I feel very sorry that the many people who submitted late had very good papers and could have gotten an A, but it was late. No, sometimes a week late. No, so try to be on time next time. No, so we're coming to the most interesting part. No, our next month talking about Rizal, I hope will be more lively. No, I know you have problems talking if you're on campus. No, your mic's not working, but I'll try to arrange another on-site class. No, so that, because I think it's more lively that way. And Vince and I will also arrange the class for those who are completely online, no, because I have not met them in this manner. So, are there any questions? Any comments on this assignment or the next one? No, I gave you some optional assignments. As I mentioned, no, please read the modules for the maps, even if you won't do it. No, just open one of the links just to have a look at what the maps are like. And if you don't want to do the optional, and optional does not really matter. But if you open, at least look at the map, open the link, it might give you some thoughts, and it's part of our learning process. So if there are none, thank you for joining me today. Anyway, can you just type out on the chat, just for attendance, can you type out what? Blair and Robertson on the chat, just for our attendance for today. And then we are done. So if you have no more questions, no, let's call it a day. If you have questions, please get in touch through Canvas. So Blair and Robertson, and thank you. See you guys.
Thank you, sir.
po.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you po. Bye po.